Hello, thanks for joining me here in my studio closet. Smallest one I've ever had. Studios all my life, and I just enjoy playing with electronic gear. That's all there is to it. But anyway, I want to tell you a story today. I was thinking about the other night, talking to somebody, and about meeting David Bowie for the first time. You can imagine yourself in that place to say, whatever opportunity you could imagine to meet David Bowie and have conversation with him, how you might have felt. I was roughly 1973. I'd been out with Leonard Skinner quite a bit and with ZZ Top. Loved Southern rock and roll, loud rock and roll. I was definitely in that mode. I got to be good friends with them and really enjoyed touring with both of those bands. And I was working for Shoko at the time. I was a engineer for one of the systems there, and I got the call from Dallas. I think while I was on the road from Sherry Short, who is she pretty much organizes all the touring there at Shoko. Did a great job of that for many years. And she called me up and says, Buford, you're going to be going out with David Bowie. And I said, no, I'm not. And she said, oh, yes, you are. I said, no, I can't do that. I don't think my hair color and, my makeup, I just don't think it fit. I don't think I would be the right spot for that. So the next day, Jack Maxon, who's one of the owners of Shoko, called me up and said, you are going out with David Bowie. You're going to love it. It's going to be the greatest tour and we want you to get this tour for us and lock it in. The tour was already in progress. It was Diamond Dogs. I think 1974, I'll have incredible time for concert sound. So here I decided, yes, of course, I'll go out with David Bowie. And so I flew to Akron, Ohio to see this tour that was already in progress. It's just that the sound had problems and they needed to do some work on it. So Shoko was brought in, and myself and Morris Latta, very talented, great friend, and a multi-talented individual, and he handled David's monitors. So when we arrived in Akron, Eric Barrett, who is the tour manager for Jimi Hendrix, he was the tour manager for David Bowie at that time, and Linda Ronstadt and James Taylor. Eric Barrett, I hold a lot of respect for, and the early part of my career, I owe it to him for this exposure that he allowed me to work in, and share. So anyway, we watched the show, and it wasn't at all what my earlier impressions of David Bowie was. So like, wow, this is impressive. This is a big stage. It's more theatrical setup than a typical rock and roll setup. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. I hadn't seen anything like that. And I think one of the things that was very interesting as I watched through the show, the dance routines that David and his two dancers would do during the show. And they would pick up various microphones after they repositioned themselves through dance routines on the stage, vocal mics that were on the stage. No more than three would be sung on at any given time. So as front of house engineer, I wouldn't have a clue. And I was watching that. I said, wow, he's moving around quite a bit, but he's got great mic technique. His voice sounds really good. I knew the work we needed to do with the PA that we'd assumed, but now we're bringing in Shoko, and things will be just dandy. So at the end of the Akron show, Eric came up to me and said, okay, Buford, come on. It's time. Let's go meet David. And I said, oh, it's okay. Just tell him I'm here, and everything's good, and it's wonderful to be here, and I'll be at work first thing in the morning, and we'll have a great show. He said, no, come back. You're meeting David right now. So I followed him back into the dressing room where David had just finished his show there in Akron, and he or he'd taken his makeup off, and he was occupied doing something. Not sure what it was, but I just remember my first view of him across this room, and he immediately stopped what he was doing and started headed toward me with his hand out, calling me by name and welcoming me just like a neighbor. That's many ways I've thought of how to put that. And I think it's the best is that, you have a close neighbor that you've had for years, you're aware of them and you know them, but know them well enough to where they come from, and but never really had an encounter came to be. And David, still in my book of all the people that I worked for, is one of the most fantastic individuals. Brilliant, brilliant when it comes to live entertainment. I learned so much from him over time of that, but he made me feel so welcome right away. And it just seemed like open conversation to just whatever come to be. I'm sure it was about 40, 45 minutes that we chatted about various things. And one of them, he was bringing up the point to me that I had not had the benefit of rehearsals, tour rehearsals, as most big tours do. And he looked at a book, picked it up, and handed it to me. And it wasn't from a stack of books, it was one book, the book that he had put together. He had Coco, Coco is David Bowie. She just does an incredible job. She's his personal assistant. And she had typed up the lyrics to every song that was in the show. So with that, David took felt markers and emphasized lines and parts throughout the show and each song, and would also give me a chart that I could follow to know which of those 13 microphones he would be on at any given time, and the two singers. And I can't tell you how valuable that was. I just don't think that most of us could pick it up until you. This is more of a theatrical type setup than standard rock and roll, so we don't have to remember as many cues as theater sound mixers do. But this was one that this book made a huge difference. I remember that first night was at the Syria Mosque in Pittsburgh, and the show, and having that book there and flicking through the pages, then get ready for these changes, and it was just a new and interesting challenge. It was. I like doing things by feel, but I like doing things in an organized fashion. And knowing that Bowie had made this book for me to help me with finding the hook lines, certain instruments emphasized, and etc. He also pointed out when he was talking to me about it, he says, Buford, if you try any of this and it doesn't work, you don't feel it's very good, he says, don't do it. He says, I want you to mix this however you want to mix it. And that was a tremendous, in a way I could say, a load off, because, no, it's just me seeing and understanding his trusting in me and to do what I do. So, but here we had established this collaboration. And David always did that. I remember throughout our tours, all throughout the 70s, and all the crew, he would come around and be very polite, very, very friendly with us. I don't remember really ever seeing David really uptight. He was just always so wonderful to be with. And his ideas that when we would hear these ideas, we would have to, say, oh, really? 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 And they'd always work out perfectly, whatever it was. I'll tell some more stories about other David Bowie encounters in the time periods that I worked for him. I think I did 4 tours with David through the 70s, and then I was out doing some other tours in the 80s, and I missed Serious Moonlight and Glass Spiders. But it was a pleasure working with David the years that I did, his staff, his crew, and all the people involved. We had a wonderful time. What an amazing creator, brilliant man, and so fun to be around. I just thought I'd share that story with you. I got a bunch of others. Subscribe if you want to hear some more, and leave me some comments on what you might like to hear about. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.